Hey guys, I'm back with another video. In this video, I want to talk about Electronic Arts and their lack of support for the Nintendo Switch so far. Um, so far, Electronic Arts has only released one title on the Nintendo Switch, and that is, of course, FIFA 18. The game has come out already, and it seems like it's an okay game. Like it's not something they poured a lot of energy into. It seemed like something that they could do very very quickly, just in order to have a trial product on the Nintendo Switch. But it's kind of a dispassionate effort. It's missing key features, and it's using old technology. I guess in terms of the graphics engine, it doesn't have the same level of you know of same level of animations and things of that nature as what you would see on their Frostbite engine. Of course, the graphics, I would never expect the performance to match more powerful consoles. However, they if they put a lot of time and energy into it, I believe that they could get their Frostbite engine running, and with some downgrades here and there, and get a much better version of the game on Switch, visually speaking. Um, and so that game has launched, and we don't have a ton of real data, but I have been analyzing the data on VG charts, because that's all we really have access to right now. And as you know, it's not accurate data. I think it tends to give you a general ballpark, and it gives you something to go on. The best thing about it is it gives you sortable, searchable data, rather than just waiting for Nintendo to come out and say, okay, these and these and these games sold this amount. But that doesn't happen very often. So what I've done is I've matched up, because Nintendo did announce a number of game sales, um, that at the recent investors meeting, that games had sold so and so amount in terms of at the end of September 30th, and now VG Charts has caught up to September 30th finally, as they're always way behind. Um, and I noticed a very real and reoccurring pattern, and that was that VG Charts was heavily undertracking Nintendo Switch games, usually about 20 to 30% lower than what their actual sales are. So if I take a look at the VG chart sales for FIFA 18 on Switch, if anything, the actual numbers will be better than this. And here's some of the trends I saw. I mean, obviously, it's not selling anywhere near what the sales numbers are going to be on the established markets for that game, like the Xbox market or the PlayStation market. However, that's not what I'm concerned about. My concern is just about whether or not it's profitable for that game to be ported to that system, and whether or not it'll be profitable for other games to be ported to the Switch in the future. As you know, there have been many statements from companies like Capcom, Square Enix, Namco, Ubisoft, etc., on how profitable their Switch games have been so far, but these were largely smaller test projects, and they were happy to get sales of 250K, 400K, in that range. So I don't see why Electronic Arts should have any different expectations, considering this was basically just a cheap port of the game that came out on the other systems, with obviously some using some older engines and so on. But it's not like they had to build a huge budget game just for the Switch. It's just the port cost alone. Um, and so what I have been able to ascertain by looking at like first of all, I'm looking at the Wii era, okay? On the Wii era, there was a FIFA game that came out pretty much every year for the system. So given that they continued making FIFA games on Switch, I'm going to assume that the sales numbers that they were getting at that time are adequate for today as well. And one trend that I noticed was that the Nintendo Switch version of FIFA 18 had a better first week sales numbers than any FIFA game did on the Wii. So that's going to be taken as a positive. I also noticed that they do have 2 weeks of sales data now for the United States, and the first week of sales was something in the neighborhood of 24,000, and in the second week, the sales were something in the neighborhood of 18,000, which tells me that which tells me that there isn't really a big like the day one purchasers of FIFA, the hardcore FIFA guys. I mean, they all lined up and bought it day one on the other systems, and that's why they got massive sales numbers. Whereas on Switch, it's more of a casual purchase because, let's face it, Nintendo fans are primarily concerned about, games like Mario and like Doom and Elder Scrolls and Zelda, Splatoon, all of these titles, and FIFA's more of an afterthought game that we pick up to fill in the gap somewhere. So what the trends are showing so far is that this is a game that's likely to have good what they call legs, where the game starts kind of slow but it continues to sell that small amount each and every week for an extended period of time. So the week one sales were on VG charts were around 110K, right? So, this is a game that I could easily see hitting about 300K by Christmas and maybe in the 400 to 500K range, if not more, by the time FIFA 19 would be due out, which I think if it was any other company, Capcom, with their port of Monster Hunter, with their port of the Street Fighter game that they came out with, any of these other test projects, these companies are considering that level of sales to be a success. Okay, so based on that reason alone, and I think these sales projections that I'm making are actually on the low end. I think it'll end up being higher than that. Because VG Chart is grossly undertracked and doesn't really know how to handle digital sales properly. It's only a matter of time before Electronic Arts starts bringing more content to the system. Let's hope that they bring decent games that aren't filled with microtransactions. I mean, you got to think that they're investors right now after the whole Star Wars Battlefront fiasco, where the game ended up underselling projections drastically because of all the controversy that came out of the microtransactions and the loot crates and the whole gambling potentiality. You'd have to think that investors are going to be looking for new opportunities to make up for this, and they've got the Nintendo Switch staring them right in their face right now. Everybody else is involved. So in terms of third parties, almost everybody else is involved. So what the heck is Electronic Arts doing right now? I believe that before E3 is my prediction, EA is going to announce that they are now satisfied and that they are going to be bringing more content over to the Switch.